clean the inside to change the present experience. Most of us, especially men, were taught to deny or reject feelings altogether. Children were stopped from crying. It is considered inappropriate for men to show tears or soft emotion, an indication of weakness assigned to women. So many tend to suppress them, even in private. But they do not disappear. They just sink into the unconscious and reside there. Carl Jung referred to them as the shadow, the dark side of one's personality. It includes the qualities we want to hide from people. Imagine your soul covered by this shadow. So many people are scared to go within. It's dark. They encounter these emotions and hidden qualities, but they fuel our words and actions, especially in stressful moments. They come from hurts that turn into anger, greed, pride, jealousy, envy, or some other. Religion calls it sin because it separates us from our soul. We have a sense of being separate from ourselves and from God. We carry on these feelings or energy and duplicate them in any relationship, in another place, with another person. Some cope by leaving the situation or separating themselves from the people who hurt them, as I did for many years, while others turn to substance abuse, alcohol, work, relationships, or other numbing activities to have a little respite from the harsh reality. How would we handle it differently without turning the violence on ourselves? Hi, I'm Pilma, a writer, organizational psychologist, poet, and change coach. In this podcast, I share about forgiveness as an inside job, an intentional exercise done in private to change one's experience of life. Do you remember a time when you felt irritable and then brushed it aside? How long did it take for you to see it outside? In the form of other people fighting or encountering someone who triggers you. We don't like it, but these are necessary because it tells us what needs to be healed. You cannot heal by telling the other to stop. These triggers will stop on their own when you heal in your alone time, when you clean up. The triggers are usually brought on by our counterpart. If you are married, you have a boyfriend, a girlfriend, or by friends, people close to us, family. The outside is a mirror. Through them, we can see what's inside us. A sensitive person, for instance, a child, will pick up on your emotion just by looking at you or speaking with you. That's how we multiply energies, through emotion. When they are negative, it's heavy. And you notice life becoming a constant putting of fires. We become our own slave, mentally, emotionally, and physically. The term slave driver, it's just a mirror of that internal state. Doctors say that anger is acidic to the body. It destroys from within. It causes the production of a stress hormone called cortisol. But when this hormone is released, it gives the body bursts of energy. Therefore, you can use it to your advantage. Release it. The void will give the cells space to flow freely again and to reproduce new ones. The more you release, you become healthier than ever before. Imagine a pent-up energy as a balloon. Release it. Now, the ego in us releases the anger in itself by dumping it on someone else. Then you feel relieved. It's finished. Not realizing that you have just suppressed and multiplied the same energy. It will be triggered again, worse than before. But if you look at it, beneath anger is pain, hurt. So it is this pain that we need to release so that anger will run out of fuel. The left void gives a space for you to feel the pureness of your soul, the effect of which is inner peace, love, joy, a sense of abundance. The more you release it, the lighter you feel. From here, it is easier to forgive others and to ask for forgiveness, because you can talk about it. You can laugh at yourself, at the situation. It means you're truly healed. In a YouTube video, I heard the host say, "Befriend pain until it's no more." I remember feeling fear as the first emotion of the day at that time. So I wondered, how do you do this? To befriend pain until it's no more. By evening, it was early evening, the same day, I felt heat in my body. During those days, when this feeling comes up, usually I have insights, or there's a healing moment. So I sat down and breathed deeply. I closed my eyes and waited. I entered into meditation. There was a nudge to utter a person's name. It was the one who has hurt me the most in the workplace. It tormented me to say it. His name. A specific incident came to mind. I could see his angry face and felt the humiliation and the turmoil at sitting there, unable to respond, because it was not acceptable to respond. But I stayed with the pain, no matter the discomfort, as I saw them in my mind. I cried it out of my system. Then I realized it could not destroy me. I was breathing heavily. And then I found myself whispering, "I forgive you, I forgive you, I forgive you." As I was saying this, it was freeing. And then acknowledging my contribution to the situation, I continued saying, "Forgive me, forgive me, forgive me." Immediately, my breathing eased. I felt different. And then I spoke the person's name again. It just felt neutral. In its place was a softness. The resentment disappeared completely. Not daring to analyze what I could not explain at that time, so I just continued. My mind went to other people who caused me pain, or vice versa. I repeated the exercise for every person, saying, "I forgive you," and "Forgive me." Saying them 3 times gave consistent results, each one of them. The names would lose their disturbing effect on me. I went through groupings of people where I encountered them to just organize it, seeing the faces and whispering the words of forgiveness. As closure, I repeated the statements for each grouping to stamp it with a forgiven label. I bid them goodbye. Then after a couple of hours, I was exhausted but happy. It was like finishing a house cleanup. I was so satisfied. It was all worth the effort. I rested. And then I thought of continuing it the next day to ensure that I had the energy for it. But my intuition said, otherwise. There was a nudge to continue with my family and relatives, in spite of thoughts that probably it would be doubly difficult because it's very close. I followed intuition, starting with my parents. And again, I was caught by surprise to feel a huge relief immediately. Then I went to the others, people I grew up with. Ending the exercise, I offered all pains at the feet of Jesus, praying that all past hurts no longer disturb my present and my future. When it was over, I stood up and turned on the radio. There was a love song playing. Listening to it, I noticed that it didn't stimulate the usual sadness, because up to that point, the love song has this effect on me. Instead, I was able to enjoy and focus on the song, the lyrics. The tension on my chest disappeared. I could feel the energies on my chest, on my throat, flowing freely as I breathed easy. It was already past 9 in the evening, and I was extremely tired. Yet my spirit was soaring, and I was smiling like crazy. Just to make sure, because I couldn't believe that it was happening, but it just did. Imagine carrying all that, all through the decades, and then it just disappeared with that simple exercise. I went through the names again at random. The pain was really gone. I just felt neutral. The tinge of softness was more like compassion. I said, "Thank you, Lord." Aha, I realized. I just learned to bless my enemies. They were not really enemies. The fear of rejection attracted people who rejected me. The external conflict in relationships were mirroring the conflict within. So to recognize what's within, I needed to see it outside. Complaining and blaming others just prolonged the misery. By healing myself, I was breaking out of the destructive cycle. And then I noticed a calmness when talking to the so-called enemies later on. Not needing to fight fire with fire. Instead, I just set up boundaries when it becomes dangerous, whether physically or psychologically. So, when I am disturbed by a memory of anybody or an incident in the past, I simply repeat that exercise. I call it simply the 3 times technique. In psychology, a person understands new information when you say it 3 times. In the moment, it is uncomfortable to a certain extent because you feel the pain and it is acidic. But here the mind is getting out of the box, so it does not question. You are melting the pain organically. It is good for the mind, the heart, and the body. So if it makes sense to you, you can try it when you are able to handle a few minutes of discomfort. So how to melt the pain? Step 1 is to make an intention. Become aware of the hurts that keep on entering your mind. You remember the past, people who have hurt you, and it disturbs you. It's like you have this psychic attack. So that means it is ready for healing. You can say, "I'd like to befriend pain until it's no more." Then number 2, face the pain. This is easiest when you do this in meditation, meaning close your eyes, sit down, close your eyes. Do a breathing exercise, breathe in, breathe out until you are relaxed. So with your eyes closed, imagine facing a particular person who has hurt you the most. Picture a particular scene. What are you feeling? Become aware of that. Allow yourself to stay in the pain, but only for a moment. Cry it out if you feel the need in order to purge it. Step 3, forgive. Express the forgiveness. Forgive everyone. The ego tends to hold on to pain. So here, you exercise your will, your free will. Move ahead and express the magic word. I forgive you, I forgive you, I forgive you. You are removing the pain through forgiveness. Then see your contribution in the situation. No need to rationalize. It doesn't matter who is to blame. The important thing is that you remove the energy that is keeping you stressed. So how you participated in the cycle of the relationship, acknowledge it, then say forgive me, forgive me, forgive me. Then move on to the next person that comes to mind. Just repeat it until no one else comes up. Then number 4, release. Finally, let go of the person or the group, situation, and memory. Feel free to use symbols for them. It may be an object that turns to dust, shimmering across the sky. Could be balloons or anything that goes away. You could imagine placing it at the feet of Jesus. You may also simply imagine the people leaving and you wave goodbye. You're bidding goodbye to the past. So the pain will disappear, but it will return sometime. It's normal because you are retraining your brain. So just repeat it, or another form of exercise that has the same effect. So the difference when it comes back, the difference is that you know what to do with it. The technique takes just minutes to do. Make it a part of your thriving tool, or you can learn other techniques that has the same effect until such time that it no longer disturbs you. The scripture says, forgive 70 times 7. 7 is seeing the big picture, a higher consciousness. So therefore you're not inside the forest. You're outside, above, looking down and seeing that we are all in a journey. We are souls learning lessons. Now, due to the pandemic, even the Catholic Church has loosened its rules on confession, its exercise of forgiveness. That there's no need to go to a priest, instead to confess direct to God. Meaning, it's not an obligation. What's more important is a sincere inner reconciliation. The 3 times exercise is one of the ways of inner reconciliation, which is a long-term effect because you are healing yourself. So now is the time to turn the tenets of religion into a spirituality, meaning something that works for you in your actual situation, and not just as a religious activity. Jesus said, love your enemies, do good to those who hate you, bless those who curse you, and pray for those who mistreat you. These always sounded daunting to me before, almost impossible for mortals. But with this experience, I realized I have been reading scriptures with the wrong lens. Loving the enemy is the most practical thing to do. It is about seeing the other as a beloved soul, like myself. Love makes forgiveness possible. To forgive is to release a block. The lessons emerge. There is no need to say anything hurtful, just a blessing for the so-called enemies to continue their path of evolution. If they return, then that is good. If they don't, you are still free. This is your shining light on pain until it's no more. This is freedom. It is all right to love again with courage. To end this podcast, I'd like to share a short reflection on forgiveness. It says, forgiveness is the compassion you give to yourself, the genuine care you offer when in a state of inner strength. You look inside, even in tears, to bring out the ugly and shameful. In owning it, you can name it. In naming it, you can disarm it. You can understand why you feel the way you feel. You realize that they are not you. They do not define you. So you can decide what to do with them, to release them, to set down the burden that there's no use on your shoulders, freeing you to walk better, to feel better. This is why Jesus said to the cripple, stand up and walk. He showed us what we can do ourselves through forgiveness.